We've got some
Hey, I'm Luis.
And
I'm Luis. And you're listening to the Content is Profit podcast.
We spent the last 4 years learning the strategies and techniques from some of the top marketers in the world on how to create content that turns into profit. And today, we're bringing them to you so you can take action immediately and start creating real content momentum.
If you'd like to learn more about how to turn your content into profit, go to contentisprofit.com. Oh, yeah.
That's right, guys. Today, how to amplify your business through impact-driven marketing.
I love this because I've been part of this in the last few weeks, and it has been amazing. But before we get started, please, guys, do not forget to subscribe. Smash that subscribe button to make sure that you get the latest episodes right on your phone. And please don't forget to follow us on social media at BizBrosCo on Facebook and Instagram.
That's right, guys. And if you find this content valuable for you and for others, please don't forget to share it and leave us a 5-star review.
Yeah. So imagine yourself walking on stage and receiving a 2 Comma Club award. What is that? You might be asking yourself. Well, little grasshopper. That's a prize for selling over 7 figures of your service or product. And that's right. Today's guest earned a 2 Comma Club award.
That's right. We met today's guest after stumbling upon some friends in common. We were hyped up after listening to the great Tony Robbins when we ran into each other. We connected immediately. It was meant to be. Her superpower is to improve relationships, connection, and messaging through impact-driven marketing.
She was selected to coach in Russell Brunson's 2 Comma Club X program. She's a #1 Amazon best-selling author and a co-founder of Amplify My Impact. But most importantly, she is the amazing mom of 4 wild kiddos who apparently love Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yo ho! Please welcome former 2CCX coach, 2 Comma Club award winner, Best Pirate Mom of the Year, and co-founder of Amplify My Impact, Miss Kaci Brown!
Woo!
Oh my God, you guys. I need to do all of my introductions.
Welcome, Kaci. Welcome to the show. We are extremely excited to have you with us today on this amazing Monday.
That's right.
Happy Monday.
I just want to clarify, Kaci, before we get started. I want to play the Pirates of the Caribbean song for your intro, but, I mean, we could have some copyright issues in there, so maybe next time.
Maybe next time we'll do it.
Okay. Yes, maybe next time. I want to go to Google right now and YouTube and find out if we can get some, royalty free.
Right? That'll be great. I was ready to bring a pirate hat, just start humming the song and everything.
Yes.
But
So guys, for those listening, not so long.
Actually, I have Mickey ears.
Oh my God. Okay.
all right.
Yeah, and my wife has a collection of 30, so we could definitely do part 2. Everybody wearing Mickey, ears.
That'll be fun.
So for those listening, guys, we had the amazing opportunity to be in Kaci's show, Amplify.
Yeah.
What was it, a couple of weeks ago, maybe? And we had an amazing conversation, and we learned so much about each other. And she is a very big fan of Pirates of the Caribbean, so that's a joke. That's why. So Thank you again for tuning in. Thank you for listening to the show. Kaci, tell our audience a little bit of who you are, where you come from, and how do you end up, coaching for Russell and now creating this massive impact with the community and the business that you've created off of that?
That's a really good question because I ask myself that a lot. Because I really I've got Southern roots. I grew up in a really small town, but our family was really, really competitive. My mom had business, so we all grew up working in a small family business, and we knew what it was like to work and build relationships because that's what put food on the table.
Yeah.
So for us, you would never outwork us. You were not going to beat our work ethic, and we applied that to every single thing that we did, whether it was school, sports, college. I got my MBA. I thought I was going to go corporate track. And thanks, that bubble burst really, really early when I was young to realize do not want a future that looks like that. And from there, just kind of took one leap of faith after another. I fortunately married my high school sweetheart, and I started a photography business. It was my first venture as a business owner, and it grew. And that's sort of where my passion for relationship marketing began, because all of my clients were word of mouth, 100% organic, through either network, through bridal associations, through other vendors, or through bridal fairs. So like I had to hit the ground running and figure out how I was going to get clients. Yeah. Facebook had just started taking off. And so social media wasn't like it was today. I still remember wrestling over creating my Facebook profile, because at the time I was over and done with college and my younger sister was in college. And to me, I was like, that's what Facebook is. Like I'm beyond that, I felt like, those high school seniors that graduate, but they still kind of hang out in the parking lot. Like that's how I felt creating a Facebook profile. But I did it anyway, because I realized, social media was the future of marketing. And so again, the business was going really well. It was growing a lot. And then about 6 years into photography, my husband was diagnosed with a brain tumor. Oh. So that pretty much just stopped everything. And for 5 years, I just focused on taking care of him and the family and getting through surgeries and recovery, until it got to the point where we had found a new normal. And I just felt like I had all of these skill sets that God had made me for more. And I wanted to pay back all of the kindness and generosity that we had been given while dealing with his diagnosis and recovery. And so I got to work one client at a time. And one thing led to another, and discovering webinars and getting back into the world of social media, because I left it at the beginning of when Facebook was just starting to take off, and I came back to it. And you guys know in technology, like if you're away for 6 months, you're behind on the learning curve. So I just jumped in the deep end and I started learning, and eventually the path led me to Russell Brunson, and the first FHL event that I went to, I ended up laying down $18,000 to be part of the 2 Comma Club program. Wow. Thinking, what?
What an investment. Yes.
So 0 to 18K, at that point in time, just, having a handful of clients and success as an agency, but knowing that there was more, like there was more opportunity that I could, not only contribute to, but grow. Yeah. And I needed to be in a completely different environment. So I, again, jumped in both feet, not necessarily knowing or understanding where it would lead me. And, blew me away when they invited me to be part of the coaching program. Fortunately, the coach that I got assigned through 2CCX was Jorge Vasquez, who is actually my business partner now.
Amazing.
And so I really lucked out there. Like I tease him all the time. That was a really good 18K investment, But I didn't seek out to be a coach. I didn't have this master plan. Yeah. All I wanted to do was serve and continue to serve at a higher level, and to continue to push myself and grow outside of my comfort zone, so that I could continue to serve, and I could create that ripple effect of income and impact, not just for me and my clients, but for my family. Like I wanted to create a legacy for others and teach them how to do the same.
That is absolutely amazing. I love the story for multiple things. I love the aspect that you emphasized at the end about serving, right? Like you weren't actually like just chasing a position, a title, but you were focusing on giving. And I think there's actually a book out there. I have not read it yet. It's called Giver. But I just read a book that mentioned that book so many times that I was like, okay, now I'm going to have to read it. But pretty much what is said is like people that are givers, they tend to be more successful than other people, right? Like putting it into, let's say, scientific comparative terms. And the reason why a lot of people might not like to be a giver at first, is because people think givers are weak, right? Like they're taken advantage of because they're always giving. But again, like everything in this world, it's a long-term, it's a long-term run. And people that are givers build trust, right? Like they build those relationships you've been talking about. So I find that super amazing, specifically right after I finished that book. I'm like, wow, this is like the perfect example. So thank you for sharing that. For those that are listening, guys, be givers. Don't be afraid to give to others. The other thing that I love is the 18K investment because, and that resonates with us so much because we were afraid. We were so scared of investing in ourselves, right? Like something that you don't even know if it's actually going to give you a return, right? Like it most certainly will, because after spending that money, like you're going to put all your focus, all your effort, and not only that, you're putting yourself in an environment that's going to allow you to grow.
Yeah. Kaci, can you describe a little bit, like, what was that moment for you? Because, like, we told this story not long ago in one of the episodes where we invested about 25 grand. And I think it's the first time that we actually say that in public. And it was not an easy decision. It was, like, so challenging inside of us.
I mean, inside and outside, we were sweating like crazy.
We did not have that money. That's the thing. So, like, it's like, how do you go through that? Like, why you made that decision?
Yeah.
And can you describe a little bit what people might be feeling? Because we cannot stress enough the power of investing in yourself.
Oh my gosh. Yes. It was like a litany of emotions, and I totally agree with you guys. Like, I didn't tell my family. Like, of course, my husband knew, but I did not tell my family for over a year how much I had invested. And it wasn't actually until I had a coaching position, because I was like, because I knew they would ask, well, you just paid 18 grand. What are you going to get out of it? And for me, there were another, like, logical and emotion, like had to come into play here. And this was one of those things where my first battle to overcome was, how am I going to communicate this with my husband that he understands it and supports this decision? Because, in our marriage, it's one of those things where I'm like, sorry, honey, I'm just going to do, no, that wasn't an option.
Yeah.
So I had to collect myself and really look hard at this, because, like, we're a family of 6, and 18K is not just play around money. That could go a long way with what we're doing. So like what you said, it is a ton of skin in the game. But I felt like it didn't give me a back door, and I was at that point where it was like, I knew I had to have that sink or swim mentality. Yeah. And I also knew that I was resilient enough to, that come hell or high water, I was going to make a return on that investment. And it wasn't just going to be break even. It was going to be double, triple, 5 times, 10 times. And actually, that was my husband's first question, is like, how are you going to pay for this, one, and what is your expected ROI? And I told him that I would close some clients before I left the Funnel Hacking Live that would pay for the membership. And I did. Like that same day, I was literally sitting next to some people the day before, and we had gotten to talking about, the business that I was in and the marketing agency, and then they were growing. They needed someone to take over some ad accounts. And so, like, it was it. Like, in my mind, it was done. Like, okay, I've got the payment covered. I've got a client onboarded. So, like, next week, I know exactly what I'm doing. And that was the easy part. The logical part was the easy part. The emotional part was, and actually doing it was the hardest thing. Like, actually getting up out of your seat, going to sign forms for $18,000. Like, whew, that was, I was a wreck. You're scared, you're worried, you're running the math, you're running the numbers, you're making sure it makes logical sense. But at the same time, you just absolutely know, you have to get out of a completely different, like, you have to level up your mindset and the network and the people that you're around. Cause I knew as an agency, I needed people who were growing and scaling from organic to paid traffic. And I wasn't going to get that, without putting myself into the network environment. Cause I'm a heavily relationships driven. So I needed that network. So for me, it was an investment in a network as much as it was an investment in my own development. So, but just, fear, worry, excitement, sadness, like what the heck, like that roller coaster of like, I'm doing it. Like I can barely, sit here and then like, I'm doing it, like ugly crying, because I didn't take it on the first day. The first day that he offered it, it's so funny. Like if I look at the progression of my mindset was like 18K, are you freaking crazy? Because like, for me, I was going from zero investment ever of personal growth, of network, of masterminds, of anything. So like, then I start marinating on it. And then Myron comes back the next day and he makes a repitch. Yeah. And I had talked to him earlier in the week, Myron Golden, and God bless this man. Like, I know he was put in my path for a reason. So he made the repitch and he made his comparison of freeple people, of cheaple people. And I was like,
that's me.
Burst. He did that and the eagle story. And he was like, and that's what Russell is. He's like, I'm going to swoop in and we're going to push you out of the nest. And we're going to swoop in and catch you. And I'm like, I don't want to be a cheaple people. I don't want to be a cheaple people. And I want to fly. Oh my God. So I texted my husband, Adam. He was, and he was like, is there someone I could talk to? He didn't know who Russell was. He thought Russell would get on the phone. I'm like, he's not getting on the phone with you, babe. I'm sorry.
Put Russell on the phone.
But I was like, let me see who I can get, to have a conversation with you. And ugly crying, mascara running down, like my face is all twisted. I go and I find Myron. And we had, like I said, we had talked all week, so we knew each other, and he recognized me. He's like, what is wrong? I'm like, I know I need to do this. And at this point, the jumbo screen has this 15-minute timer counting down. Yeah. And I'm watching it, and I'm trying to explain it to Myron. And I'm watching the numbers go down. I'm like, Myron, like, I need to do this. I know I can't stay in the same place. And I know, like, this will change my business. But my husband would feel more comfortable if he talked to somebody who's worked with Russell and knows the integrity of the program and all of this type of stuff. Yeah. And Myron didn't hesitate. Wow. He did not hesitate. He's like, he needs to talk to somebody. Let's go. And immediately stepped out into the hall, and the rest is history. And I was still calming down and like catching my breath. And, just to hear the conversation between Myron and my husband, and they're still close to this day. But Myron went above and beyond. He was like, if you let her join this program, I will make sure she applies it. I will make sure she's accountable. I will check in with her. And sure enough, he did. Like, I started the program and I didn't want to bother him. So like, but every event he was, tell me what you're doing. Tell me what your prices are. Tell me what your offers are. You need to raise your prices. And he was just good to his word, always looking out for me, always checking in on me. And to this day is such an amazing supporter and mentor. He was one of the first few interviews that I did on the podcast. I cannot thank that man enough for just, being there at that intersection of that huge decision. Yeah. Again, I feel like he was just put in my path for a reason. And I'm grateful, beyond grateful.
That's amazing. I mean, that has so, like, it's so similar to what we live, because like the decision that we made was also because of Myron. So we might have to bring him to the show so he could like tell everybody on this audience and everybody like why this is so important, because he literally in like 15 minutes, he completely changed our beliefs around money. And the progress that we've done since has been massive. So Myron, if you're listening or watching or doing anything, thank you from the three of us, because wow, like you've literally changed your business, and we can wait. So
I mean, I think more than our business,
everything, life too. And so thank you for bringing that and actually telling the experience, because sometimes we say, hey, we invested this amount of money, just it feels like very easy, but it's not. And so I appreciate you saying and telling that story and like the ugly crying, because we were definitely ugly crying too. We had the timer, and I think we signed up when it was like 2 minutes left or 1 minute left. I had to run to the table, to do this investment. Which I never thought.
Yeah.
So Katie, if you're listening, that's exactly what we paid. She did not know. She asked me, she's like, do I want to know? And I'm like, no, let me tell you when we actually have some traction. So there you go, babe.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, there we go.
Now we need to make sure she watches the show, right, Katie?
Exactly. So Kaci, that's awesome. So you obviously make this investment, start like going through this development process, right? So along the way, tell us a little bit like what's that journey like, and why you decide to then switch a little bit your business, because at this point you have business number one, and now your business is completely changed, right?
Yeah. So the progression of the business really, it happened through coaching and 2CCX, whereas I came in through to it with the perspective of, I'm an agency owner. I understand growth strategy. I can help people understand the comprehensive long-term play that they're making in building a business, like the legacy brand, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people make the mistakes of, they think if they make a high investment like a program like this, that they're literally writing a check for success. And that's not the case. You have to put in the work. You have to put in the strategy. You have to get uncomfortable and put your message out there and figure out what big problem you're going to solve, and then how you're going to solve it in a repeatable, simple way, right? And a lot of people, they were confused, and so I brought to the table like the how I walked my agency clients through this, through the messaging, through the organic to paid traffic. Because as an agency, my stand on that was the same thing with relationships, is if you cannot prove it organically, then we're not going to put some money behind it yet. Like, we need proof of concept. We need testimonials. We need to know that your process works before putting some ad spend. And you can accomplish all of that organically. It's a little bit harder, but putting in that hard work in the beginning ensures that your message is dialed in when you start putting paid traffic behind it. So that's kind of like where I was at. So when I was going through 2CCX as a student, I was specifically growing my agency and publishing myself to get outside of my comfort zone. And I know you guys are huge fans of Stephen Larson, and one of our first events was essentially, to paraphrase him, was "Be You Louder," right? And it's all around that message that he shares of publish your face off. Mm-hmm. And I mean, again, I'm a small town girl. I have a Southern accent. I am a lot more comfortable behind the camera than in front of the camera. Yeah. I like personal referrals because they're pre-framed. I don't have, to overcome any false beliefs. I don't have to do hard sales. So like all of this stuff was so uncomfortable and just outside of the norm. But I knew as an agency owner, if I was going to coach my clients through that and not be willing to do it myself, I wouldn't be in alignment with what I was trying to teach them. And so I had to really understand what it meant to be uncomfortable and to do it, because I can't ask them to publish daily or connect with their audience or, make sure that they're testing out their messaging if I'm not willing to do the same in my own business. Yeah. So I kind of, became my own sort of like firsthand case study where how uncomfortable can I make myself today, So that was sort of in the student phase, and the agency grew, and it was really, really fun, and it was easy because that was one lane. It became a little bit more difficult as a coach in 2CCX because I started seeing the heart and soul of other people struggling, of the, the imposter syndrome, of the doubt and the fear, of like the obsessive planning and whiteboarding and making out of funnels, but never launch. So that was a huge problem that I really, really wanted to solve, because it was bigger than just messaging and organic to paid traffic. Yeah. There were so many incredible and talented people that were never getting their offers or ideas even to beta because they had so much internal work that needed to be done. Like, they had that imposter syndrome. They thought everybody else had a better solution than them. They had no right to compete in the marketplace, much less about, fear of going live. And that's a whole different route to go behind. So Amplify actually came up as we started it out as a retreat. Like, what if we could just spend 4 days focusing and helping people hone in their message, helping them take action on creating and mapping out their framework, their one thing that they were going to create and sell, their one thing that they could talk about for 5 minutes or 3 hours, that they could, create a whole value ladder of service on, like, their core. And not only that, but help them build their own internal confidence, have marketable assets. I called up my friend Nick Fitzgerald, and I called up Jorge for the mindset, for the inner work. And so we had professional marketing assets, we had the mindset, inner work, and the ownership of the outcome through Jorge. And then I would help them put everything together in a streamlined, simplified strategy, because overwhelm does nobody any good. And in 4 days, not only did we do that, but we also had a ton of fun. Like, we were done by 3, and we specifically would go out, we'd have dinner, we'd go on adventures. We went to a studio for a taping. We went to a Not Scary farm for Halloween. I wanted them to show the hype of hustle. It doesn't have to be that way. You have to fill up yourself. You have to create your own experiences, because after all, what are you working for if you're not creating time for that? So that kind of just planted the seed of Amplify. And then the coaching program for 2CCX changed. And so I was able to go full force in January with what that vision was. And we launched in March, and just pretty much haven't looked back since. It's been incredible to just continue to serve. And that's, at the heart and soul and core of what we do.
That's great. I mean, through your message, you can really tell, how authentic and caring and loving it is. And how you, who would honestly, there's a few people that are willing to leave those positions to go do what you guys did, honestly. And it's kind of like you're answering to your calling, which is awesome. Because there's a lot of people that I feel like they're afraid of taking that step, right? Taking that leap of faith, if you want to call it like that. And you mentioned a few things that I marked down in here, scratch them down like this, right? The getting out of your comfort zone, that's always so difficult. Yeah. And what I like is that question that you said, what are you working for, right? Because we live in this culture where everything is hustle, just work. And we mentioned this in the previous show. There's people that die from that, literally, from overworking. So, and I feel like a lot of people, they start working with something in mind, and then they forget all that, and it all becomes everything just goes around your job and the work. So it is important to remind yourself, what is it that we're working for? I think asking those right questions to yourself is just it changes everything. Yeah. I mean, the quality of your life is dictated by the quality of the questions that you ask yourself. So I didn't come up with that quote, just saying. I would love to, but it's not mine.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Kaci, thank you.
It's a wonderful quote.
Thank you for sharing your story and, walking us through how this business came to be, because clearly, we've been part of your community for a little while now, and we just see the overwhelming support that your people give you give them, and then they give each other. And this is one of the things that we talked about in a couple of other episodes as well, about that aspect of community within your content or platforms or so on. And it's so powerful, because what you're doing is you're creating those relationships, you're building those relationships, and we've seen the results that they're getting. They're checking those milestones, one by one, and they keep going and moving forward, and it's all about momentum. So you specifically, right, you said that you battle a little bit through that content creation, right? You were in a position where that was not so comfortable to do, and I think when we start creating content, sometimes we're in that position too. We were there for sure. what was that thing that made you take that next step and now take it to like 10 more steps with your own community and business?
Okay. This is another one of my favorite stories. So
All right.
at that
Yes.
same event where Stephen was telling us to publish our face off, we also got training from Alex Sharfin. And he said a couple of things that totally shifted my mindset. The first was, if you have a problem with money, you haven't given enough away. And that was the first time like the light bulb in my head went off. Wait, I can scale beyond what I'm currently setting as my goal, because at that point in time, my goal was, how do I take care of my family? How do I just pay my bills? And then how do I help people? How can I pay it back? How can I pay it forward within our community? And then when he put in that perspective, I was like, wait, if I've got this figured out and we can contribute to our community, why can't I contribute greater? Why can't I scale this and just keep helping more people as it grows and scales? So that was my first sort of like aha. And then he started working us through a 4-part client-centric mission. And if you listen to his podcast, it's on the podcast. So, you can definitely map out the 4 steps. But step number 4 is another ugly cry moment for me, because step number 4 was, I'll know I'm successful when. And I was having a problem with that because a lot of people were standing up and they were sharing, and I'll know I'm successful when my company's name is associated with the top X, Y, and Z in the market, or when we've reached X, Y, and Z amount of money, or, it was all, not what I'm really, they're not motivators for me. Like people who knowing my name wasn't a motivator for me. Making just a ton of money wasn't a motivator for me. And I was ugly crying during a break, and a friend of mine, Lisa Wendler, came up to me and she's like, what is wrong? I'm like, it's number 4. Like, I can't figure it out. Like, I don't care if people know my name. I don't care how much money is in the bank. And I just like, I can't figure out how to put it into words, how to communicate success when that's not my definition of success.
Yeah.
And she was like, good. Because when the haters come, and they will come when you get loud and you get your message out there and you're standing in the gap to serve people, what will they have to say to you? What can they say against you if you are truly in alignment with your mission to pay it forward and to help people and pay the way for others? And so when she put that into perspective, I realized that the strength was really in that anchor outside of myself. It wasn't my successes. It was defining success by helping other people achieve theirs. I'll go to the mat for anything. I'll go toe to toe. I'll take the gloves off. I will battle. When it's mission driven, or if somebody's, trying to limit someone else, or tell them they're not worth it, or tell them they're not good enough, or tell them they haven't been doing this long enough to be considered an expert, who are they to say or do X, Y, and Z? When I shifted my mindset like that, then the uncomfortableness of publishing, of going live, of turning the camera on, of getting that message out there consistently, it wasn't as hard, though. Like, I still had my own sort of like physical things to overcome. Like, I had to meditate, I had to plan, I procrastinated. Like, it's not like it all just magically went away and it was easy for me to go live and share my message. But I had that in my mind. Like, if someone needs to hear this message, then I have to be willing to share it.
Yeah, that seems awfully familiar to the story of my brother here, that he was actually pretty afraid of sharing his story too. And I mean, I'm sure he'll get into that, but I love what you mentioned about your definition of success, right? And I think that is key for everybody to understand, because I mean, we honestly live in a comparison place, right? Like, we're constantly comparing ourselves to others, and we're like, oh, I want to do that and be like that when I grow up, right? But like, okay, like, yes, it might look nice, but in reality, what is it that you want, right? Like, that question, I'll know I'm successful when. And I think that's a question that we've been exploring as well. I don't know, honestly, I don't know if I could answer that 100% with security, but I know I'm like, I've been exploring that side, and it's difficult. Of course, it's a deep conversation with yourself. But I'm 100% I'm 100% sorry sure that when I find that answer, like everything is gonna like not become easier, but it's gonna be a great motivator for me to keep moving forward. So thank you, Sharon, for that, because like I want to let people know that I think success is definitely subjective. Like you need to have your own definition of success for you to be able to move forward. Because like if your definition of success is kind of like guided by someone else, is someone else's success, you're just constantly gonna be chasing, and like never gonna get to the place where you want to be.
So, Kaci, with your current community, was this a planned thing, or it kind of like did it happen organically? Because for those listening, Kaci has an amazing.
Everything I've done is happened.
she has a massive and amazing community of entrepreneurs and creators that they're so supportive. And we talked about this element in other episodes where people plan for these, right? People do it and they're like with an objective, right? Of that community, that tribe kind of deal. So yours is so strong because it's based on relationships. And that's why I'm asking you that question. Was that something from the very beginning that you guys plan as part of your business plan? Or is something that kind of evolved as you started to publish, as you started to see the needs of the people that you were serving?
Yeah. So now impact and connection and empowerment, like that's totally intentional. From day one, even in my photography business, I wanted that groom to feel like that day was seamless. It was the most special day of the first beginning to the rest of their life. And so it was about impact. It was about that I felt like it was my mission field,
Yeah.
And so same thing with agency. I brought the same thing with agency. So like that was about as intentional as I got with relationships and the impact that I was having on someone else's life. That was always at the heart and the soul and the core of everything that I did.
Yeah.
But as far as like the Facebook group and, I mean, that honestly, I fought the Facebook group. When sharing about publishing, like the same thing came into play in launching the podcast and launching the summit that we did and launching the Facebook group. Like it was that same battle every time. Is this necessary? Is this only going to add to noise or distraction in the marketplace? Or does it open opportunities to serve better? And if the answer was it was going to open opportunities to serve better, then we said yes and we went forward. And even with the Facebook group, Chantel Turner helped me launch it in December. That was a decision that was literally made in less than a week, where I was like, I'm publishing, I have a podcast, I have, we had the retreat. I just feel like I need sort of like a home base on Facebook for people to collect and for them to lift each other up and for them to always be able to go to and not just wait until I go live or until there's a Tuesday or Thursday drop. But I fought myself in theory, right? Yeah. Is it a distraction? Is it not going to help them? But it did. So we launched it.
I love it. I think I love how you guys go like one step at a time, but every step you guys, I don't think you guys overthink, but you guys, again, and it goes back to what you guys stand for. Like you guys see the impact. Like, okay, how impactful is this going to be? Does it make sense? Yes or no? Okay, let's move forward with it. So I absolutely love that.
Yeah, I put here that question that you just said. I put it as a power question, and I think we're gonna start applying this in everything that we do. It's like, does this thing that we're about to do, does it create opportunities to serve better? And I think that's such a powerful question and sentence because you can actually measure, right? It's like, okay, if it's not adding to the buckets, We'll put it on a side and filter and give a lot of direction. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
And the listeners, if you are debating on whether doing things or not, use that question, please do.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit. You're in the middle of something right now. Please share with us what are those like secret amazing things that you guys are doing with the audience, and how can they connect with you? What's the next step?
So it's really interesting because we are at a growth phase again in Amplify. That when we launched in March, we led with a coaching program and a group coaching program. And what we quickly realized is that it wasn't so much group that people needed. It was more one-on-one specific strategy and mindset that they wanted to accelerate their learning curve. They wanted to go faster. But there was also like some really deep work that needed to be done while they did it. And so, we had to do some inner searching of like, who is Amplify? Are we a coaching program? Are we an agency? And that's when sort of all hell broke loose with the coronavirus, and agency totally blew up because there were so many people who needed like speed to market, like launching their funnels, getting support with organic to paid traffic strategies and everything like that. So we're left here like, are we in this middle ground? Like, how do we define ourselves? And so that's where we're at right now is we're transitioning, and we're still doing the coaching, but a lot of what we do is it's almost like a hybrid of agency and coaching, because we want the people that we work with and the funnels that we launch to have their best chance of success. But also like the reality that it is not just a flip the switch and it's going to rain. It's an evolution, just like everything is an evolution. So we're there to optimize and to strategize and to consult and everything like that. So we're working with fewer exclusive clients. We have a lot of equity partnerships and revenue shares in place because like we're totally invested in the success of our clients, whether they are coaching or agency. And that all hinges on growth mindset. And all of us, and I know you guys will agree, like nothing really shifts perspective in your business until you accept that you can always improve yourself. You can always get better. Not that you necessarily have to learn the tactics or the technicalities of everything, but if you yourself are getting better at decision making, at outsourcing, at systems and structure and scaling and because you're only going to be able to scale as large as your mental capacity can go. So many times we're our own worst enemy, and we are that bottleneck and that roadblock and serving and creating that bigger impact. So that's where we're going. And today actually kicked off a last training series that partner Jorge Vasquez is leading on the 15 days of growth. And because it really was that shift in perspective and that internal mindset that set everything ablaze, like on this. Like the thing about it is you can have the best offer, the best strategies, the most beautiful funnel, but if you don't have the mindset and the grit and the strength to endure, you're never going to launch it. You're never going to outsource or build a team. And you're going to lose a lot of momentum, scalability, and impact just because you're sit there time after time, second guessing, waiting till it's perfect, or just talking yourself out of it. And that was one of the biggest problems that we saw over and over and over, not only in 2CCX, but even on the agency side, where they would have an offer and they would second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, like right on down the line. Until the market, they wouldn't even let the market decide. And sometimes that's the hardest thing because you're putting yourself out there to be rejected.
Yeah, that's such a real fear. And I love what you said. Like, it reminds me actually of a quote of Steve Larson that is, your business grows to the extent that you do. And I mean, I've seen that in our journey, that when we started, we were looking for the fast, the fast track. Like, what are the tactics? What do we need to know? What is the next, golden strategy that is going to take us to be millionaires? And it's not like that. And once you start learning that it's a growth journey, principles that you need to learn, and not only learn, but apply and get over your own fears and beliefs, like that's when everything changes. So guys, if you're listening to this, go check them out, because they are the real deal. Yeah. And I mean, it's you need to be there mentally, like she says, so you can, if you have the best offer, product, whatever, like it doesn't matter if you're not there mentally. So guys, please go check them out.
Yeah, I feel like as entrepreneurs and business owners, you start this whole journey with an objective, either serve more people, push a product, you're pushing an idea that you really believe is useful to the world, right? Thinking best case scenario. But as you start building these relationships, the business, whatever that looks like, you're also embarking a parallel journey, like within, inside of yourself, of like you're facing your biggest fears, you're facing a ton of crazy stuff. And then if you add to that content creation, and how do I promote this, and how do I get out, how do I give my message to more people, like that just puts it to times 10, right?
It puts a lot of pressure.
So what Kaci is sharing with all of us today, guys, is so important to just sit down and be like, do I actually want this? And if I do, what is my next step? Because you guys are we're on take 2 journeys, which is what we felt in the last year or so, once we dove in head first. So Kaci, thank you so much.
Full circle once we did the investment.
Exactly. Once we did the investment. So Kaci, thank you so much for sharing all your amazing stories. Yeah. I'm gonna be like using your ugly crying, analogy like crazy, because that's us literally. How can people connect with you? How can people find you? But before that, the action point. We haven't shared the action point. So we love for you to leave our audience, or the people that are watching live, with one thing. What is one thing, a business owner, a content creator, that you found that has been mega super useful to you and you want to share with them?
Oh yeah, I think the number one thing that I would say, and this can apply for no matter what level that you're at in business, because we've worked with them all, like just starting out, barely making 6 figures, over 7 figures, and then on into the multiple 8 figures and beyond. That at every new level, you're going to feel like you don't have it all figured out, like you are not prepared. And I think the biggest thing is to realize, pause and plan as best as you can, but do not stay immobile. Like you've got to put some things into play. You've got to fail. You need that data that's on the other side of that failure. So I think the biggest lesson is just to accept that, in those phases of growth, there are data points and there is information that we need. And it touches on what we said earlier. Success is subjective. And when you get to a point in business, sometimes you're just testing things with failure and putting yourself out there and being like, you know what, it goes back to high school, like with your hypothesis. Like, I think if we do this, this is our best case scenario. And if you just sat there and just kept thinking, you would never have the hard facts or the data that's on the other side of that. And that is imperfect action, right? Yeah. And just plan the best that you can, take the action, knowing that you're intentionally going to get the data to evolve and evaluate and improve.
Yeah, that's great.
Such a golden nugget, like big one.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that come to mind when you said that. I think the episode would extend way too long, so we're gonna have to bring it back for a part 2. Just saying.
Yes, and we'll bring Jorge too, because he brings so much value to those calls, and you guys together is amazing. To watch that show is awesome. All right, guys. Well, with that being said, Kaci, do not leave, because we have 2 more minutes with you. But with that being
wait.
right. Where can we find you?
Yeah.
Yes. So
Thank you, Fonzie.
As organic to paid traffic, we're always on Facebook. We have Amplify My Impact as our free group. Luis, you guys are there, and I appreciate you. We have live calls every Friday that, again, are free. We have the Amplify My Impact podcast. And again, Jorge's doing literally 15 days of live growth training right now from here until June 1st. And we just want to serve. Like, we want to plant the seeds of service and help people where they're at. Because in our business, everyone does have to be at a certain mindset to be able to start to grow and scale at the point where we work with our clients. And I made myself a promise that I was never going to be one of those businesses where it's like, if you can't give me money right now, then you're not worth my time. That is sort of like the antithesis of what we represent.
Yeah.
And what we are trying to teach our clients not to be. Because you can always serve and add value and have something that you're creating that will lay the foundation for the future. And if all that does is serve people right where they're at, and they never give you a dime, then I feel fulfilled and I did my job. If we can then help them to further scale and grow their company, then that's the icing on top. That's the cherry on top. And what we really strive to do is those win-win-win scenarios where it's not just enough for us to win and the client to win. All of our clients are impact driven. So when they grow and scale, just like when that light bulb went off for me, when they grow and scale, they are contributing with that increased income and profit and revenue stream. Someone else in the world is benefiting, whether, it's additional charities or donations, or they're planting the seeds in others to be able. So it's like the ultimate ripple effect. But that's where you can find us. And that's what you can expect from us, because we want to be part of that ripple effect and that greater contribution for everybody.
That's amazing. And I'm sure you guys already are part of that ripple effect and many other ripple effects. So thank you so much, Kaci.
Awesome, guys. Well, with that being said,
thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us. Please do not forget to subscribe at Continuous Profit Podcast.
That's right.
Make sure you smash it, hit it, and follow us on social media at The Basic Bros Go on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, don't forget to share and leave us a 5-star review, guys. And be a giver. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. We're still live on Facebook, Kaci.
Yeah. Kaci, thank you so much. That was so awesome. What do you think?
Oh my gosh, that was so much fun. I hope I didn't talk too much. Of Jorge and I'm the talker.
That's the idea, right? Like we brought you in here so you will share your message with everybody. So thank you.
And we're like, talk more, please. Talk more. This is about you guys because it's amazing. So one more thing. Well, there's a couple more things here. Like, and it's not going to take much, but the first thing is we got to take a little selfie.
Oh, yeah.
So let's do it while we're live on Facebook.
Okay.
So the count of three, we're all going to smile to the camera. All right. 1, 2, 3.
All right.
Awesome. It's funny because we just saw the last 5 pictures, and I was exactly the same expression,
It
same
never
thing.
changes. It looks like Photoshop, like someone just changes shirt color. That's it.
Yeah. Well, with that being said,
so I'll tell you, I learned what I learned in wedding photography. So I learned that all of us have resting faces, right? So I learned to the brides and the grooms, and like even when you're paying attention, like remind yourself to smile. So it's one of those things where I even do it sometimes. So it takes effort to create that habit.
Yeah.
But the photographer in me, like it just I made myself do it too, because I'm constantly like, oh man, that's like, what is it? Our resting RBF.
Yeah, RBF. Yep, that's exactly. I used to run a couple fitness studios, and I had people like on the front desk, and a couple of them were known for their resting face. Yeah, and I'm like, guys, you have to smile, please. But it became a joke, and it was kind of fun after that. But Awesome. All right, Facebook, thank you so much for tuning in. Kaci, don't leave. We'll have to chat on Skype for a second. And we'll see you guys on Wednesday with Parker Woodward is coming. Ooh. And that's going to be a fun one.
You see by the reaction of Kaci.
I love you, Parker.
Gonna be a good one.
Yes. All right, guys. Thank you so much. And we'll see you on Wednesday.
Bye.